Let's go back now to our colleague Offense Stimo, who is in Soweto. Also, a tragedy there. 15 people now confirmed dead at that shooting in Soweto. And we hear that other people are still in hospital at this particular point. Offense, good afternoon to you once again. What is the latest there?
Thank you very much, Griselda. Well, I can tell you that it seems the police are finalizing their forensic work here outside the crime scene from where we are. We are actually a stone throw away from Mdalalose Tavern. If I can just ask my colleague actually to just show you at what close proximity we are at. Obviously, we are on the other side of the cordon of the police as they are busy doing their work. There is simmering tensions, if I may put it that way. The EFF have arrived, the Red Berets are here, and also Operation Dudula members are also here, and they were chanting anti-Malema songs. As you know, that the assertion on the ground was that there is a lot of undocumented foreign nationals that are actually terrorizing the community here, and they were saying that with the state of affairs, the EFF was not supposed to be here because they are the ones that have actually called on these would-be Africans from other countries to actually occupy land that is vacant, and also to occupy to build shacks, informal settlements close to townships. And the residents have been complaining, saying that this is central to the challenges that they are having, that there are areas called Maseru where the police are actually not able to enter those areas. In fact, they likened what's happening here to what actually transpired in Deep Slot, where Komotso actually lost his life as they wanted to confront some of the culprits which they felt were the ones actually stealing cable. When we're speaking to the community members on the ground, they're also telling us that this particular area itself is a no-go area for the police. They make all sorts of excuses whenever they have to respond to a criminality that's actually happening here, saying that they are afraid for their lives, or maybe there's no van that's available for them to respond to the criminality here. So the community on the ground are saying that issues of GBV, issues of carjacking, issues of break-ins in homes actually happens with the criminals actually acting with impunity, as they are aware that the police are actually not able to respond. Well, we are closely monitoring tensions, as I mentioned that there were some tensions. If my colleague can actually zoom in there, you can see that there are pushing and shoving between members of the EFF and those of Operation Dudula. As I mentioned at the beginning of my intro, that we saw some tensions, and we saw that people were actually singing anti-Malema songs and anti-EFF songs. So as we see now, there's actually a scuffle that's breaking out between the two groups, which are also here to come and pay condolences. We were also trying to tread carefully, not to involve politics in this particular crime story, as this is still a crime story and it's not a political story. But as it seems, those that are politically affiliated seem to be taking sides on a story. This while families are still mourning the bodies of their loved ones after they were killed. About 15 people actually killed, and about 8 people are still fighting for their lives in hospital. So as you can see on the visuals live on screen there, the police are actually trying to calm the situation down, as there seems to be some pushing and shoving between members of the EFF and those of Operation Dudula. But definitely there is frustration on the ground, especially from members of the community who are actually saying that they feel unsafe. I spoke to 2 ladies earlier on who were actually saying that GBV happens with impunity here, because even if it's reported, you will hear excuses like, no, we don't have vans to respond to the crime scene, or no, that area is too dangerous for us to come there. So you start asking yourself about the social compact which the SAPS has with the South African residents or the South African community, where their mandate is to serve and protect. But the community is saying that instead of combating crime and preventing crime with police visibility, there's hardly see a police van in this particular area, and they have appealed to the police minister Begicele to say that he needs to deploy the army here, as they mentioned the community that some of the police members are not able to go to certain areas as they are afraid of the high caliber weapons of which the members are using here.
Are you able to get a bit closer? Yeah. Are you able to get a bit closer to what is taking place there by any chance? Would be able to stay with you?
Most definitely.
Yeah, I think if you could proceed towards
Absolutely,
there.
Griselda.
We do apologize to our viewers. We'll try to get Offense to get a bit closer there so we can understand exactly what is being said there, and perhaps my colleague Offense Stimo live in Soweto in what looks to be a mini argument between members of the EFF, I understand, and members of the Soweto Parliament. Let's just take a listen to what is taking place there. Offense.
Yes. As you can see, Griselda, I think the police are having their hands full, trying to keep the two groups at bay. As I mentioned initially that, there were some tensions. Well, it seems those tensions seem to grow to a point where now there's some pushing and shoving between the members of the EFF and the members of Operation Dudula. And we know that, their rivalry goes a long way, in terms of the views that they have on the ground in terms of foreign nationals. But it's not resolving the problem. It's actually exacerbating matters, as the police, who are actually supposed to secure this area, which is still a crime scene, are now having to sort of break up fights that are actually happening between the EFF and members of Operation Dudula. We apologize for the foul language that's currently transpiring where we are right now. As you can hear, tensions are very high where we are at the moment. Yes.
He's provoking us! He's fucking provoking us!
Can you tell us what is happening?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, well, Griselda, as you can hear, tensions are actually very high. So, Nhlanhla Lux is standing. What's happening?
Nothing. Hey, nothing.
Yeah, well, Griselda, as you can hear, the people are.
All right, we must apologize for some of that foul language coming out there of Soweto. Offense Stimo will try to connect with him again very shortly. Apologies for that break in transmission there, but we'll try to establish a reconnection with Offense Stimo. So what is taking place in Soweto currently, just a little bit away from the crime scene, where 15 people have now died as a result of that shooting at that tavern. Offense Stimo telling us that there's now that scuffle between members of the EFF as well as Operation Dudula. But we heard Nhlanhla Lux say earlier on that he was there in his capacity representing the Soweto Parliament. All right, in just a moment, we'll have those visuals up for you. Offense Stimo still live for us there in Soweto. I'm not sure if he's able to hear us, but you can see the presence of police at this particular stage, trying to calm down those two sides that have been arguing. Offense, can you tell us more?
Yes, absolutely, Griselda. We actually have to apologize for the vulgar words that were actually on air just before our machine actually went off. In fact, it still continues. There should be a disclaimer to our viewers there that there's a lot of vulgarity that's actually transpiring here. Other people are frustrated, and basically they're on both extreme sides. As I mentioned earlier, that the assertion on the ground was that EFF is actually enabling undocumented foreign nationals to occupy places where South Africans stay, and once that happens, you find a situation where criminality is exacerbated. So that's the sentiment of the people that are currently singing here on the ground. Once again, I send a disclaimer to our viewers that the language is quite vulgar, if I may put it that way. And in fact, this is what is putting the tensions to be very high this is what is provoking a reaction from the EFF as they are singing anti-Malema songs. So the EFF was actually responding when the people were actually singing anti-Malema songs, but you know, the police are still having their hands full trying to contain the situation. You know, shortly before tensions went high and emotions went high, the police were still busy with, you know, securing the crime scene where about 15 people were actually shot just after midnight last night. But now the situation has degenerated to a point where, you know, there's name calling and insults that are being thrown at each other between the two camps of Operation Dudula and the EFF. I've tried to get some form of reaction to the people on the ground as to what actually transpired, what led to this. But what we were observing was that there was some anti-Malema slogan songs that were actually being sang by Operation Dudula members, and eventually the EFF guys responded, actually saying that they do not want to be provoked, and then some hurling of insults also transpired there, and it's just chaotic at the moment. But the police seem to have contained the situation slightly, creating some sort of a border between the EFF and between the members of Operation Dudula, as we are here in Nomsamo Park in Orlando East, where the shooting actually transpired yesterday. Well, if I may elaborate a bit further on these tensions, the community basically are saying that, you know, there is a lot that needs to be done in order to ensure that the Lesotho nationals, a gang of Lesotho nationals that is here terrorizing the community, should be dealt with. But now they feel frustrated because the police also are afraid of actually going to areas that are occupied by those areas.
But we're not going to allow any fights. Not in the presence of police.
So, offense, from what you see
and
there,
the police are also warning those that are having the scuffles. Yes.
yeah, apologies, offense. I was going to refer to that. Do police seem to have a hold of the situation? They don't really look like there's no fighting taking place there, just arguments. Are police being successful in trying to calm the crowd down? I still see a bit of shouting here and there.
Yes, no, the tensions are still very high, emotions are still very high. As I mentioned initially, that, you know, the Operation Dudula gang were singing anti-Malema and anti-EFF songs. So, you know, tensions rose very high and the situation got out of hand very quickly, and the police had to act fast. It's just a good thing that, you know, the police was in close proximity once the tensions started to go up, you know, but at the moment they have contained the situation, and in fact they have some sort of a wall between the Operation Dudula guys and the EFF. So no more violence, no more hailing of insults, but the tensions are still definitely very there, and this is taking away from police work to try and contain the crime scene. As I mentioned earlier, that there is a crime scene that's actually happening here. If I can ask my colleague Sitelo to come with me, there's also some police that are actually on standby, you know, just to ensure that if the situation get out of hand, they are also going to intervene. They are actually standing on the other side of the cordon as you know, the situation unfolds. We're closely monitoring the situation here, and basically because of the police proximity to the situation, it looks like definitely there won't be any of the situation that's going to happen. Would you like to speak to us about what transpired? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Oh, okay.
Fancy, I'm not sure if you're able to speak to either side. In fact, both sides in this instance. I know that you spoke to Mdalalose a bit earlier on, and I see there was someone speaking to police there. Is there anyone from communications within the South African Police Service that you've managed to see there?
They were here earlier, you know, we were here with Gauteng Provincial Commissioner General Elias Mawela was here, and Colonel Dimakatso Sello, who's actually on standby dealing with media, was also here. We spoke to her earlier, but at this present moment, you know, there's only officers on the ground who are containing the situation, but we haven't seen any of those high-ranking officials over here at the moment, so we're not actually able to get a hold of the police police at the moment just to find out how they're actually going to contain the situation there, you know. But at the moment, can you talk?
I see, Offensive, you're trying to speak to someone there. Are you
if I can just talk to you. Can you just tell us what exactly transpired where the tensions actually ran high between you guys and the EFF?
So as the community, we are trying not to involve politics as best as we can. And the unfortunate situation is that people are trying to campaign how Lifu. People started mobilizing when they saw Mdalalose, and now it's become a political agenda, if I might put it like that, because of when they see Nhlanhla, they see Tutula. So obviously as the EFF, that's why they are angry. We are here to support as a neighboring community. We are from Pimville. We are on the ground each and every day patrolling at night. We are the ones that are getting shot at, Bobusiu. So I don't understand why does it have to be now a political agenda? The question was one. The EFF right now, they had their own rally at our Freedom Charter Square. Freedom Charter Square is in shambles right now. We cleaned Freedom Charter Square. Mdalalose was there in the forefront cleaning Freedom Charter Square. Freedom Charter Square inanimates. It's got water underneath. It's a fragile building. The police did not even know that they were doing a rally. So they come here doing their political agenda. The community is bleeding as we speak. Why do they have to come in red jackets? We are all here wearing our proper home clothes. We are not wearing our galas of different political parties. We're supposed to be gathering our heads as a community to say, this is a mass funeral. How do we gather our heads and to make sure going forth, community and Nomsamo? That's a political agenda. Good driver. Now it's being a personal attack. Why do we have to act like this as a black nation? Why?
And the guys from the EFF are saying that, the Dudula guys provoked the situation by singing anti-EFF and anti-Malema songs, and they responded. Were those songs sang because you saw the Red Berets, or what is your reaction to their assertion that, they were responding to a provocation by you guys?
If they say it was a provocation, then that's what they will say. Those are their words. Right now, what we are saying is that we are trying as best as we can not to advocate for any politics within the community, because this is what's dividing our communities right now. The ANC was here. They've been mum. They're not doing anything. When the EFF is here, they want media coverage. Why do they want media coverage? Why are they recruiting each other for a bad cause? Why were they not recruiting each other for a good cause? Right now, if I can tell you, we've been here since the morning. The ANC has been here since the morning. They've never spoken to the media because of Mulawo Waruna Kamora community, that we are not advocating for any political parties because on actually campaigning season. So what we are trying to do right now is that let us help Batubako Nomzavu Bahlali Rona Retoko Pinville Klep Sprite Atla Klep Sprite Eteng Remoro to some pagat Arakela Moto Politica Aswansere Politiken Kamora community Rona a bad tragedy like this.
Well, Nomsamo community is in mourning following the death itself. How would you have wanted the EFF to have handled the situation once they came here?
The first thing is to talk to the leaders of Nomsamo. The first thing about don't rush to the media and want interviews. That's the biggest problem, because now more media the family community, but people want exclusive interviews so that bona ba bonahala mo TV ba campaign ya eng o hloka etso wa re sa ikaofela re lo hlaya mo mathata a hlaileng teng re tlo gona hore re rona re le setjhaba re tshidisa jwang. We are not supposed to be doing all of this, because now we are looking bad as a bad nation. If they are saying they are leaders, let them act better. Why would you already good driver? Why would you already the kinopkir? This is not an Nhlanhla party. This is not an EFF party. Nomsamo ihloka lethu, and hona tjene tshwantse be ra khuma mararapela. Ha o so tshware le thapelo. The family hona tje adi so bonwe. Mara now jano butata berenang bona is that also lwana ka hara community, because now they think now this is a political battle. This is not a political battle.
Now they are 10. He said they call each other one by one. What's that? Tell me honestly speaking. I mean, here it's simple. People were shot in chicken farm. there was no EFF, there were no ANC, it was only Mpakati. And even now, Mpakati is being shot at, not a certain political party. Why were they not, why they were not there? Because of what? Undocumented foreigners. So because of Bonnet is supporting foreigners, they said, Manama says it here, and my brothers from Zimbabwe, those undocumented, he says these are brothers. They are killing us, they are raping, they are doing almost everything here. So today, we are here to mourn with the people here. These people that have been here, without electricity, for 4 years not having electricity. No political party came here to help them. Today they're being shot. No political party came here. We are not here as politicians, we are here as community to say, whoa, no politics must be here. They must come after everything has happened. They must go to the houses and go pay their respect. Not then come here and call each other to say, Ntanta is saying this, you must come. Ntanta is saying this. What's this? What's that? What is their hate of Ntanta? Why do they hate him so much? Ntanta is the only boy who has ever stood in South Africa to speak about drugs. He's the only, he's the only, you see what they do. You see?
Let's just hear the other side. Okay, well, as you heard there, Griselda, that's the sentiment on the ground. They're saying that, it's a rather tragic incident that has happened that should not be politicized. But unfortunately, because people came clad in EFF colors, this agitated the community, and that's what led to the tensions that we saw actually happening. I've been trying to get a comment from some of the guys from the EFF, but unfortunately, they are not willing to talk to the media. We know that Sinao Tambo said he's 5 minutes away. He should arrive at any minute now. Then we will definitely try to get the EFF's reaction to the accession of the community, as they were saying that, it's a tragic situation. Families are in mourning, the community is in mourning, and there isn't a need for politics at this stage in time, as families should be comforted, as families, should actually be given a chance to grieve their loved ones. But I'm going to try to speak to, some of the community members who are actually not politically affiliated, just to hear what are their feelings about what actually transpired here on the ground. Dumela. Niziva njani after what happened? Yeah, no, people are really afraid to talk to the media, as you can hear. I tried the EFF, but unfortunately we're not getting a reaction from them. But you heard the assertion from those that are affiliated to Dudola, saying that, whenever there's anything transpiring on the ground, they would be on the ground actually trying to combat the criminality that's actually transpiring in this community. And just for today, for the EFF to pitch up, they're saying that it's quite opportunistic, as they're actually pitching up after the fact, after 15 people have been murdered, brutally so, while they were actually socializing at this particular tavern. I'm still trying to get some of the community members. Can we talk to you just as a community member? How do you feel about what transpired between Dudula and the EFF?
You know what? We are not Dudulas. We are Mpagati. So they were nowhere to be found. So because Kwaninte Valile Baso campaign, your style, he campaigning to by letter. You don't benefit from anywhere. Agnala Pastori Malukwana. We are fighting for Mpagati. Bona Mama Sugale Bazo Vanama Brown envelope. Bakolil. Tina, we are fighting in reality. As the language of Tati Kwamala. And where were they before? Nebaluko guy. Because Rama Kala relate them as Mpagat. From them other lands. When you know EFF, Ope Pilangwana, or tourist group driver, or on Tabakason. Rubber trendies, Ope Pilangwana, tourist group driver. But what kind of leaders are they? Parakana Rabalans among Kurabakari Parliament, Batalans Alorona. They are striking Nakulans about Ramapos, Rona Marulan Rabilda. So Batakopana Lorna Tanamo. What
just happened here?
No, I think you took one. What talk of a late, but in 12 everyone and one what I got is group driver about out about one pagat. So Twanti really looks at this thing because their leader, he's condoning these things. This thing about Warnabula South Africa is real. It's real. Malema is promoting all this nonsense.
No, I'm the ward councillor from this area. The affected block, Nomsamo, it's part Yawo 30. So we are very much aggrieved about what happened to the situation. But what is more sad, it's people coming in here to descend into this arena, not to assist the situation, but come and grandstand and try to do all the wrong things that are not going to assist the situation. We are bereaved. We are worried about how are these families going to pull out of the situation. But people are coming in here doing all sorts of funny things at the expense of a tragedy. It's very sad. South Africans don't want to wake up from the real thing that is happening. The country is under attack. What is happening here, it happened in 3 separate areas. It happened in Katlehong. It happened in Pietermaritzburg. It's now happening in Soweto. Instead of us coming together to solve the crisis, we're busy trying to grandstand and doing all sorts of funny things. I don't know who are we trying to appease or who are trying to, to impress. We are having a very serious crisis. People are bereaved. Families have lost breadwinners. Instead of us working together, we are coming here and grandstanding and doing all sorts of funny things. We are not helping the situation. I'm so not unhappy. I'm so unhappy about people who are coming in here. Instead of coming with solutions, they're coming in and grandstanding. We all know that 2024 is looming and everyone is trying to grandstand and do all funny things. We are not trying to solve the situation here.
Yes, as the local councillor, if I may interject there, the community say the police don't come, the ambulances don't come, criminality is just happening with impunity here. As the local councillor, can you confirm or deny this?
I cannot confirm nor deny anything. What I can tell you is that we're having a shortage of manpower with SAPS. We have already engaged with law enforcement agencies to try and address the matter. So the fact that we don't have police that are existing in our area, it's something that I can't really confirm. But what I can tell you that there are strides that are made to try and, control the situation or maybe come up with solutions to make sure that we have a safer community. That's what I can tell at the moment.
But paint a scenario for us in terms of the picture on the ground of the community, because they are saying just walking from here to go to Orlando, on the ground there, you won't make it. They're going to rob you before you even get that side, just after 6 p.m. walking here. What is your reality on the ground?
Well, I can tell you one thing. Crime is crime and it happens everywhere. You can get marked at any place. It can't be targeted and say Nomsamo, it's the core area or space where crime is the one that is dominating. Crime happens everywhere. While we are having currently the challenges that we are experiencing in Nomsamo is a shortage of electricity, because we are still trying to make sure that we bring lights back to the community. There was a recent incident that happened here in Nomsamo whereby one employee from Eskom was stabbed by members of the community while they're trying to fix the infrastructure. And then there was a looming strike that happened regarding Eskom having to come and continue doing its work to make sure that the lights come back on. Because one of the challenges of crime is that when it's dark, then it dominates because there's no light. But currently we are still trying to fix all of those elements of infrastructure, so that we are able to have lights and then it's a safer community for everybody.
Thank you very much. Well, as you heard, that's the local councillor of this particular area conceding that yes, there is criminality, but saying that work is being done to ensure that the community are safe. He's saying that yes, there is a shortage of police force in terms of manpower on the ground, but he's saying that the situation is being rectified to ensure that the community of this particular area of Nomsamo Park are actually secured. On the ground is a different opinion, where they were saying that it seems like the police are actually afraid to enter certain areas, saying that there are hotspots and there are no-go areas. But as we spoke to the councillor now, you heard him say that there is work underway to ensure that there will be a deploying of police officers to come and ensure safety of the community of this particular area. Griselda?
Well, Offensive, we're going to continue staying with you there in Soweto. I did hear you say that Sinawo Tambo from the EFF was expected there any minute now. Are you able to tell us whether the situation is a bit calmer? I can't really see, what's happening from behind you there. If you could just move towards the other area. Have they managed to calm the situation down there now?
Absolutely. We'll just take a stroll towards the other side so that you can see. We were actually on the side of the community members. We're just going to traverse onto the other side. It's pretty calm. because the men in blue are actually keeping a close eye on what is exactly transpiring, making sure that fights are actually kept at bay. The two groups have been kept at distance from each other, and at the moment, well, it doesn't look like there will be anything transpiring anytime soon, as the police are actually here keeping a close eye. Indeed, we did see people pulling out screwdrivers and the likes. The situation could have definitely gotten out of hand. There could have been more people injured had there not been any police in close proximity. But as things stand, the situation has calmed down, and it looks like emotions are starting to calm down. People are starting to actually calm down, as there was some pushing and shoving. People were reaching for each other, trying to scratch each other, stab each other. But at the moment, no, it's definitely not happening. But what is surprising is that all these things were actually happening right in front of police. People were taking out weapons in order to stab each other and everything. People had nopkiris right in front of the police, but fortunately they were not too shy to step in and to stamp out the violence that was about to actually unfold here at Nomsamo, where we are in Orlando East. Griselda.
So, Offense, any update in terms of how far the police are with the crime scene there? I guess it's going to be cordoned off for quite a while now, given the number of people who have died there. But certainly a lot of work needs to be done.
Absolutely, the forensics definitely have their work cut out for themselves. The area is still cordoned off. There are still some police that are actually securing the area, and as you can see on our picture there, there were those on standby during the time when the tensions were actually very high, keeping a close eye. And they seem to be a bit more relaxed, because initially they were having this line that they formed, the line that they would form before they start firing rubber bullets. But as you can see now, they are quite casual, as the situation has been put under control. It's still cordoned off. We understand that the guys from forensics are still gathering evidence, and there were casings that were actually picked up there, but the community is still under extreme shock. As they had such fire shots last night. Someone was saying that sometimes it's a norm that someone would just be playing with their firearm, shooting in the air, but unfortunately in this particular instance that wasn't the case. The firearm was actually pointed at real living human beings, some of whom are actually fighting for their lives. There were 12 people that were actually shot on the scene, and others were actually taken to hospital. But we understand that later on, 2 more people died, leading to 14 people, and then later on another one died this morning, leading to the death toll amounting to about 15 people that have actually passed on. Communities are in mourning, and there was a bit of a distraction, as you saw the scuffle happening between the Operation Dudula members and the EFF members, saying that their views on immigration is the one that's actually brought them to have this particular conflict. Griselda.
Offense, thank you so much for the work that you are doing out there in Soweto.